Hello everybody, my name is Rachel and today I'm going to review the two comics that I read this past week. Both of these are pretty popular on BookTube, so I think many of you guys will have heard of them, but they are new to me and I thought I would review them separately from my weekly wrap-up this week. The first is Chew Volume 1 Taster's Choice by John Layman and Rob Guillory. This series is set in a future in which millions of people have died from bird flu, so they decide to ban chicken. The main character is Tony Chew. He investigates food-related crimes for the FDA, and he's a Sibopath, which means that when he tastes food, when he eats food, he gets a psychic reading or impression off of it, and he uses this ability to investigate crimes because the same thing happens when he consumes small amounts of human or other flesh and blood. I picked this comic up because the Sibopathic ability sounded cool, and a lot of more recent reviews I've seen of Chew on BookTube have really downplayed the cannibalism aspect of the series, which I would really quite agree with. It's not like Tony is really chowing down on other people's bodies, he's just taking in very small quantities of blood and flesh. What I do object to, which there's a reason why I don't plan on continuing with the series, is that the context of this is really disgusting. Yeah, he might only be eating a small amount of flesh, but it's a decomposing finger. It's a dead dog. It's been sealed, rotting in a plastic bag. No. I felt nauseous enough while reading this that I considered DNFing it. Like, the story was good. I thought the writing was good, the plot line was interesting, and I thought that Tony was an interesting, sympathetic character. He had weaknesses, he had real emotional responses that were kind of similar to the readers to some of these situations, and even the violence didn't get to me. The violence was kind of cartoony to me, but the amounts of vomit and decomposing flesh just... I couldn't. So while I think that the idea is good and the execution is good, I don't have a strong enough stomach for this series. Also, the artwork didn't really do it for me. I'm not a huge critic of artwork, but I don't like the more exaggerated, cartoony, caricaturized type of artwork. I really like a lot more realism in my comics and graphic novels, so this style was not really my kind of thing. But I do have to say that the color palette worked with the material. In fact, I think that a lot of these like muted greens and browns and kind of oranges and reds amplified the disgusting level. It worked with the content, which means that's good, but it worked a bit too well for me. So it wasn't bad, I just had a really visceral, stomach-churning response to this, and I would say I would only recommend this for people who have a much higher tolerance for graphic content and disgusting content in their comics. The other comic that I read was Sweet Tooth Volume 1 Out of the Deep Woods by Jeff Lemire. This is a more apocalyptic comic than Chew was, so it also takes place after a lot of people have died. In this world, billions of people have died from a sickness called the Affliction, and children born after the Affliction are all animal-human hybrids. The main character, Gus, has the features of a deer, and he lives with his father in isolation from the rest of the world on what I think is probably a national park. And then Gus's father dies, and Gus is rescued by a man named Jeopard. Jeopard tells Gus that he's going to take him to the preserve where children like him are kept safe because other people want to kill them. This volume felt very much like an introduction. I don't think like a lot of stuff happens in it. You're introduced to the two main characters so far, and they go somewhere, and that sets the stage for, with the last panel, something big is going to happen next. Mainly, I really liked the character of Gus. He's just a child. He's sweet. He's quiet but not dumb. He's a little bit too trusting, but he's really trying to think through what's going on. He's thrown out in the world, and he's very young. He thinks he's 9 years old. He might be, he might not be. I really want to keep reading the series, mainly to find out what's happening to him. I'd also like to know more about the hybrid children and how that works. The only thing about this that really gave me pause was that all the adults want to kill the children. This is probably a gross oversimplification. I hope that becomes more complex later on, but it makes no sense that humanity, which has just been decimated by a sickness, would try to kill all new children being born because of a genetic mutation. No new children, no new people. You are dooming these species to die out, basically. I also like the artwork in this one more than I like the artwork in Chew. It was more realistic and less confusing on the page. People are like drawn more in proportion, more realistically, and I like that. There is some violence and gore. I mean, people are dying all over the place in it, but the situations felt a lot less disgusting and a lot less for shock value, I guess. So this particular one, I think I'm going to continue with. I really want to see where the story goes and what happens to the character of Gus. Let me know what you think about these series if you have read them, and if you have any recommendations for me of comics that you think I should read or try, please let me know down below as well. I'm really looking for more comics right now that aren't as violent or gory. That's not really what I enjoy reading about all the time. I don't like looking at that on every single page. So maybe something that isn't rated M for mature, I would really appreciate your suggestions there. That is it for me in this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys again later. Bye.